They said the unit never existed, but the tattoo on her wrist told a different story. The morning sun cast harsh shadows across the parade ground at Fort Redstone Ridge as Staff Sergeant Callie Ward adjusted her uniform for the third time in 10 minutes. Her fingers unconsciously tugged at her right sleeve, pulling it down to cover the edge of black ink that threatened to peek out from beneath the fabric. Around her, 35 other soldiers stood in flawless formation, boots gleaming, uniforms crisp. No one spoke, but the tension buzzed like static, waiting for a spark. Then came the man who was that spark. Colonel Franklin Rhodes stepped out from the administrative wing like a storm gathering over the field. At 55, he was built from old-school command and quiet fury, silver hair cropped shorter than regulation. Expression carved from stone. He didn't yell. He didn't need to. The weight of his presence made grown men check their laces twice. 20 years active, 5 combat tours, and a zero-tolerance policy that made lesser officers flinch. Callie watched as he began his silent sweep down the front row. A nudge here, a glance there, a thread snipped without comment. His standards were silent but sharp. Then Ward, her lungs stilled. "Yes, sir." He circled her slow, clinical, boots flawless, belt centered, hair tight. Then he stopped. His eyes caught something just above her right cuff, a sliver of ink, barely visible but not to him. "Roll up your right sleeve." The words were quiet, but they hit like thunder. Everyone heard it. Everyone froze. She'd hidden it for nearly a year. She thought she had more time. Her hand moved slowly. The sleeve resisted like it. Too knew what was about to be exposed. First, a black curve, then a coil, then the whole thing. A viper inked in scorched black wrapped around a single .50 BMG round. Its fangs hovered over the brass casing, where 3 letters and a number had been carved so fine they looked burned in BV1. Rhodes didn't speak. He didn't need to, because he recognized it, and he knew what it meant. Not a unit, not officially, not anymore. But to a few ghosts still breathing, it meant everything. BV1. Callie heard someone gasp, maybe herself. Rhodes stumbled back. The clipboard slipped from his hand and hit the concrete with a crack that echoed like gunfire in the silence. His face went pale. His hands trembled open. Exposed. Impossible. He whispered, not to her, to the past. Every head in formation turned now. Even those who knew better, because whatever that tattoo was, it wasn't just art. Rhodes stared at her wrist like it was something buried. Long ago, something that wasn't supposed to come back. But it had, and it was breathing. The inspection had become something else entirely, a moment of reckoning, years in the making. Inside his office, Colonel Franklin Rhodes moved like a man who'd been handed a classified ghost. The blinds were drawn, the air still, the silence louder than any drill command. Staff Sergeant Callie Ward stood at attention, the sleeve of her uniform still rolled high, her tattoo exposed, the black viper, the bullet, the code no one was supposed to remember. At ease. "Ward," Rhodes said quietly, but the tone didn't carry his usual authority. It sounded fractured. "Close the door. Lock it." Callie complied without a word. Her pulse was steady, but her thoughts were racing. She had served under Rhodes for nearly 8 months. Not once had he ever looked like this, unmoored, vulnerable. He opened a locked drawer and retrieved a half-empty bottle of bourbon, the kind only old war officers kept as ritual, not indulgence. He poured 2 fingers into a ceramic mug and stood there, staring at it like it had answers. "Don't say anything until I finish," he muttered, "because what I'm about to tell you could bury us both." She didn't respond. He walked slowly to the window, peering between the blinds at soldiers training outside, unaware of the classified storm brewing just behind them. 13 years ago, he began, voice nearly flat. I commanded a unit that didn't exist. Codename Black Viper 1, part of a Tier 4 Shadow Division under Directive Emberpoint. 7 operators. Best I'd ever seen. Phantom-grade recon. They moved without footprints. He turned to face her. And, for the first time, Callie saw it the kind of guilt that doesn't fade. Just sinks deeper over time. Their mission was supposed to be clean. Tag and watch. Confirm presence of a weapons ring in the Korsava range. We'd gotten intel that a rogue arms exchange was imminent. No assault, no contact, just eyes. He gave a hollow laugh, no warmth, no breath behind it. But nothing about that op was clean. Because the intel wasn't just wrong. It was written to be wrong. Rhodes crossed to a metal cabinet and pulled out a folder marked with clearance levels Callie had never even heard of. Red seals, double-lock code words. He laid out a series of grainy surveillance photos, drone stills of a compound buried in the mountains. Then came the frames with smoke, then collapse. I watched it happen in real time, the moment they breached. The hillside detonated, rock slide, heat signature, gone. No rescue, no recovery, no bodies, just ash. The report said it was a structural failure. Unfortunate timing. He exhaled hard, but it wasn't timing, it was sabotage. Callie's gaze dropped to the ink on her wrist. BV1, OP-17, KIA, 7 dead. Rhodes whispered, erased like they never existed. And now, you're standing here with the mark we buried under a mountain. He paused. Tell me, Sergeant, where did you get that tattoo? Callie looked him in the eye, and what she was about to say would unravel everything. Callie Ward's mouth had gone dry. She already knew where this was heading. She'd followed the breadcrumbs for years. Intel fragments, disappearing comm logs, deployment gaps no one could explain. But hearing it out loud felt like watching her entire childhood catch fire. Colonel Rhodes didn't soften the blow. The thing is, he said, voice sharpening as guilt gave way to fury. They didn't die to enemy fire. They died because of a bad order disguised as honor. A beat. Callie didn't flinch. But inside, something snapped. Not in anger, not yet. In grief. Rhodes opened a drawer and pulled out a photograph creased, faded, worn with regret. 7 men, gear heavy, camouflage streaked, eyes locked in that unspoken code only warriors knew. 3rd from the left. She didn't need him to say it. Alden Ward. He said softly, comms lead, your brother, the best I ever commanded, volunteered first. Callie's gaze fixed on the image like it was breathing. 13 years, she whispered. I carried the memory of a man who died for his country, not knowing he was killed for a lie. Rhodes nodded the kind of nod that only came from someone who had rehearsed regret in the mirror 1,000 times. They believed in the mission. They believed in us, and we fed them to a lie. His voice cracked. They were pawns in a war someone else was selling. Callie didn't blink, but her jaw set. He motioned toward her wrist. That tattoo, Rhodes said. Low and haunted. That viper. That bullet. It wasn't just yours. The unit designed it before they deployed a shared mark. They called it their creed. He leaned in, voice trembling. So how the hell are you standing here with something that should have been buried under 300 meters of rock? She didn't answer. Not with words. She reached into her uniform, fingers deliberate as if defusing a live charge. Rhodes tensed. What she pulled out wasn't a weapon. It was a letter, burned at the edges, folded too many times, the kind of thing that smelled like dirt and death. This came to our door. She said, 3 days after we got the official report. She placed it on the desk like a live round. 3 days after you watched that hillside collapse. Rhodes stared at it, then opened it with fingers that didn't feel like his own. Callie read first. Callie, if you're reading this, the official story is a lie. Chun and I made it out of the collapse, but we were taken. She stopped, looked at him, let him carry the weight. Rhodes continued, aloud. The others, They didn't die in the blast. They were silenced, and not by the enemy, but by those who didn't want the truth to survive. His hands shook. The words rattled the air like dry leaves in combat wind. The compound wasn't a terrorist base. It was a black market hub. American weapons, ours being traded to the enemies we were deployed to fight. His voice caught. They didn't want survivors. We knew too much. Callie's voice broke the silence. They didn't just bury the unit. They tried to bury the truth with it. Then came the last line written in Alden's crisp, unmistakable hand. If you ever find this letter, don't believe a single word they told you about Black Viper 1. Rhodes looked up, eyes wide. Face ghost pale. This changes everything. Callie nodded once. Then you haven't seen what I found next. The blast wasn't just to erase the mission, Colonel Rhodes said. Voice barely above a whisper. It was meant to erase us. All of us. He stared at the photo, his thumb still brushing over Alden Ward's face. 3 of us lived through the initial collapse. They couldn't drop another bomb without raising questions, so they let their partners on the ground finish the job. His next words cracked like dry wood. Rodriguez didn't last 2 days under interrogation. Chun made it maybe 6 weeks. I'm the only one who made it home. And even then, I didn't survive. Not really. He looked at Callie like he was seeing a ghost. This is impossible. I saw the satellite feed. I saw the hillside go up. There weren't any survivors. Keep reading, Callie said. She slid the next page of the letter forward. I'm sending this through a contact in the Red Crescent. He doesn't know what he's carrying, but if this gets to you, know this, the people who did this aren't rogue. They're institutional, command level, and they've already rewritten the war. Colonel Rhodes's hands trembled. Before they captured me, I buried something, not just a message, not just names, evidence, real names, account logs, chain of command orders, enough to burn the whole thing down. Callie reached into her jacket and withdrew a small black drive, no bigger than her thumb. Matte metal, scratched, familiar. It took me 3 years to decode the reference. The old oak tree that was the place our dad used to hide birthday gifts when we were kids. She placed the drive on the table. It clicked against the wood, but what was inside wasn't a gift. Rhodes didn't touch it. What's on it? Everything, Callie said flatly. Wire transfers to defense contractors, communications between arms traffickers and military personnel, video of U.S. weapons being traded for intel, or silence. She paused, then landed the shot that mattered most. And evidence that you were never complicit. They set you up. Colonel, they needed a man with a perfect record, someone they could feed false intelligence to, someone who would send his team in blind without ever doubting the orders. Rhodes's face hardened. It wasn't grief anymore. It was something older, angrier, something that didn't fade with age. Who, he asked. Who gave the order? Callie opened the final page of the letter and slid it across. According to Alden, the man who orchestrated Directive Emberpoint is now Deputy Secretary of Defense Harold Vance. He'll be at Echo 9 range next week. Routine inspection. No one suspects a thing. The silence was absolute. Rhodes looked at the drive, then the letter, then the scarred tattoo on her wrist. The Black Viper coiled around a single bullet. 15 years of guilt in his chest, 3 years of rage in hers. What do you want from me? Callie. She didn't blink. I want justice. She said, for Alden, for Chun, for every ghost they tried to bury. Rhodes reached for his phone. Then we're going to need help. The sun rose over Fort Redstone Ridge with military precision banners hung, cadets in formation, press crews rehearsing their camera angles. It looked like a celebration. It wasn't. 2 levels below, in a sealed sub-basement, the real war room came alive. Final check. Warrant Officer Thompson whispered, hijacks wired to triple backups. If one fails, it reroutes instantly. And the fail-safes, Callie Ward asked. Voice razor steady. One signal gets cut. The whole drive uploads to 2 FBI servers and every major outlet, including the one Vance's wife anchors. That earned a dry smile from Captain Park. Nothing like betrayal in 4K, he muttered. Legal briefs are ready. If they cuff us, we'll go down quoting chapter and verse. Upstairs, Deputy Secretary Harold Vance was already shaking hands, smiling for cameras, a polished predator wrapped in medals. We've got a 3-minute window between his speech and the media Q&A, Master Sergeant Hayes said. DOJ's response team is staged 1.2 miles outside. Colonel Rhodes paced, coffee cold in his hand. This is it, Ward, he said, hollow-eyed but steady. You want justice? It's going live in T-4. Callie opened Diego's letter one last time. She whispered the line that had haunted her since day one. Truth bleeds, but it lives. Then she looked up and nodded. Vance's face filled the main monitor. His smile smug, voice syrupy. We honor the sacrifices of those who gave their lives in classified missions, missions that secured our freedom. That's when Thompson flipped the switch. The screen jumped, then shifted. Grainy footage. Ute-Rye crates exchanged in shadowy terrain. Secret handshakes, wire transfers, signatures. Then the thermal satellite image, the moment before the blast. 3 bodies, still moving. Gasps rippled across the press gallery. Callie's voice cut in. My name is Staff Sergeant Callie Ward. My brother, Alden Ward, died under Directive Emberpoint, and the man who signed that order is behind that podium. The camera jolted as security scrambled. Vance froze mid-sentence, not in fear, but fury. He turned. Shut it down. Now. But it was too late. FBI agents breached the perimeter. Marines on stage intercepted him. Sir, one said, calm and cold, you're under arrest, in the war room. Rhodes exhaled. We got him, but Callie didn't smile. Her eyes stayed fixed on the screen. That's not all of them. What do you mean she tapped a hidden file under a decoy folder? Vance wasn't the end. He was the middle. She rolled up her sleeve. No longer hiding. The tattoo gleamed in the glow of the monitors, a black snake coiled around a .50 cal bullet. Black Viper 1 still lives. Subscribe to Stories Unseen, where ghosts don't whisper. They testify.